Hello, I'm Dan.
I'm Simon.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article each week and we talk about what we find. Simon, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Dan, we're talking about the 2005 Beijing Guoan F.C. season.
Oh, for God's sake. Why do we always have to pick my favourite Wikipedia pages?
We have somehow managed to do it once again because the 2005 Beijing Guoan FC season was Beijing Guoan. It definitely sounds like Guoan. It's spelled Guoan. Guoan.
Go on.
Beijing Guoan. Second consecutive season in the Chinese Super League, ever since it started back in the 2004 season, and the 15th consecutive season in the top flight of Chinese football. So There's a lot to unpack here.
You've got me hook, line and sinker here. I cannot wait for you to tell me more.
Well more. The first team.
Hey.
So every week, it is literally the easiest joke in the world. The 2005 season, they had I have a team list here. Shall I have a go at telling you who is on this team?
I mean, I think that's exactly what you should do, given we're already kind of racially insensitive enough on this podcast.
Well,
let's just go in for a penny, in for a pound. Give it your best shot.
Considering that last week you did a Chinese, or it might be 2 weeks ago, you did a Chinese word challenge, and I was like, I can't see the email, so you're going to have to do it on your own. This is kind of feedback. And I'm not amazing at pronouncing Chinese names in the first place, in that I don't know the rules of pinyin. So let's give this a go. The goalkeeper. Well, actually, I'll tell you what. There are 36 players listed here. They're all Chinese, apart from 2 nationalities. Do you want to guess the nationalities that these players came from?
Can I ask for a clue first? And let me ask a question. Are they European? Are they still from the Asian kind of continent?
They are both European. The 2 foreign players. Are
they from France or Spain?
Nope. They are not nations. They're not what I would call proud footballing nations. Let's put it like that.
Okay, so is one from like Luxembourg?
Nearly in terms of the flag. One is from Serbia and Montenegro.
Oh wow,
that's Branko Jelic.
Of course it is. Good old Branko.
And the other one is called Dan Alexa.
Dan Alexa.
Yeah. Hey, Dan Alexa, play Despacito. Yeah. And Dan Alexa is from Romania.
Oh, gosh.
The proud footballing nation of Romania. And those Dan Alexa and Branko Jelic are joined by such luminous players as Yubo, Jinan, Jiang Shui, Huawei, Sui Dongyang. Oh, God. If it's a Q, if it's like QI, is that C? It's like Xiu Zhonghui, I think is how that's pronounced. I really don't know. There's a guy here called Wang. I can tell you that. There's a player called Wang Dong. He's literally just called.
Of course there is.
He's literally called Dick. Oh, that's funny. There's
Wang Dong.
Wang Dong, who has his own Wikipedia article. He was born on 11th of June 1985. He's a Chinese footballer since 2004 to 2014. Wow,
he's been in the game for 10 years.
Yeah, apparently he was good. And funnily enough, he made his league debut for Beijing in a game against Beijing Guoan.
Wow. Traitor.
What a traitor, Wang Dong, you dick.
Wow. Literally, you dick.
Sorry, we shouldn't be making fun of people because their name is another name for penis in our language. It feels somewhat insensitive. Yeah. But to be honest, this article I randomized on. We as per the rules of Clark-Dollicism, it was just the first thing I landed on, and I saw a bunch of Chinese names, and I thought it'd be funny if I tried to pronounce them. Other than that, there's not a huge amount in this article other than what leagues the Beijing Guans participated in.
Okay, I've got some questions.
Okay.
When was the team established?
Beijing Guoan was established. Let's go off the article. In 1951, semi-professionally,
and it became around for a while.
And it became a professional team in 1992. So
Wow.
I'm guessing that Chinese football wasn't terribly professional for quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, so the club's predecessor was the Beijing Football Club, which predominantly played in the top tier, and then so was it just called that before? Wow, this is a big old article. I had to be honest, I didn't really know that football was a big thing in China. Like, I know that it is one of those places where you sometimes hear of players going, like, is Wayne Rooney out there? I think Wayne Rooney might be playing in China.
God knows what Wayne Rooney's doing. I mean, he's
like,
it depends on whether he's been good enough for his handler to let him have some time off, let him off the leash.
I know he plays for DC United in America.
Of course. Yes.
But like, you get these famous players who will go to China for like a year or two just to make a buttload of money. I think Peter Crouch. I swear there's somebody who is in China. I know Peter Crouch is in Stoke.
Yeah, pretty much as far away from China as you can get, Stoke, isn't it?
Pretty much. Hang on, football players in China. I swear that I'm. There is literally if you search football players in China, the top search feed is, did you mean, do they play football in China? There's a billion people there. I imagine some of them do.
Gosh,
hang on, UK. Can I go down by? Oh my god, this is a huge. This article of list of foreign Chinese Super League players is absolutely ginormous. England. Here we go. Oh no! Apparently there are no English players. Apparently, apart there's Akpo Sodji.
Well, Brexit means Brexit, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. He had to leave. He's of Nigerian heritage. His full name is Idoro Akpoyere Aljuma Akpo Sodje.
Bless you.
Thank you. Apparently he's the only player that's. I don't know where I've got that from. Then but there must be some famous player that's gone to China recently. Because so
spectacularly tangential Wikipedia thread this has been so far.
Yeah, really have. So the club, the Beijing. Apparently the full name is the Beijing Guoan Football Club. They're nicknamed the Imperial Guards or Beijing's Green Turtle. It's the second most valuable football team in China with a team value of $167 million.
Wow.
I have no idea if that seems like it's not very much. Like, hang on, Man United.
$167 million.
Yeah, but I don't know how much that is.
Well, players get bought for that much money.
In Europe, yeah. It is Man United is it's Man United is the world's most valuable football club. Do you want to have a stab at how much it's worth?
I'm going to say 2 billion.
It was valued at £3.1 billion.
Oh, damn.
That's in.
Oh, pounds.
Yeah,
so
pounds.
Even more in dollars. Yeah, crikey.
That is
pounds sterling.
Nuts.
Gosh.
I mean, they had a head start. They were founded in. Oh, I didn't know that.
In 1433.
Yeah, but before football was even invented. No, they were founded as Manchester United in 1902, but they were originally founded in 1878 as Newton Heath LYR. What does that even mean? What? Newton Heath LYR, but it doesn't say what L. Oh, Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Football Club. That's an interesting bit of history. Yeah, Manchester United Football Club was formed in 1878 as Newton Heath, Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Football Club.
Wow.
By the carriage and wagon department of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Depot at Newton Heath.
One of my favourite departments.
Yes, next to the Department of Mysteries.
Yes, absolutely.
But wow, I had no idea about that. But when I was a kid, I apparently used to support Man U.
I used to as well.
Really?
Yeah, I used to when I was in primary school. Not that I gave a flying fuck about football, but I now, if I had to say I support a team, I'd say Liverpool. Because if I didn't, I think I'd be. My mother would kick me out of the house.
Oh, is she a massive Liverpool fan?
She support. Yeah, the whole family do. My mum, my two brothers, all of my mum's family, they all support Liverpool. My dad's the black sheep because he's from Yorkshire and supports Leeds. Dirty Leeds. Yeah.
I like Leeds as a city a lot. I could get behind supporting them as a club, I suppose. But
apparently they've got a really good university. I've got a cousin. One of my cousins went there, and she said it was excellent.
It was my insurance, and it was. I gave a talk there at a conference not long ago, which is where I met Dr. Alex Evans, who I did the video about flying mythical beasts with.
Yes.
But yeah, very good physics. Very good for physics. Leeds. It also
she did child psychology.
Oh, that's interesting. That must be a fascinating course.
Absolutely.
But yeah, when I was there, they advertised the fact that they had the longest bar in Europe, which was like quite a bold claim to put on your student prospectus. But yeah, no, it was lovely place, Leeds. But so what? Hang on, I'm confused. What's your mum's connection with Liverpool? Is she from Liverpool?
No, so all of that side of the family are from Lincolnshire.
Right.
But I don't actually know why they all support Liverpool. I don't know. They follow Liverpool quite well, very, very closely, and Lincoln F.C, of course, who I think it was last year ended up playing somebody really big.
It's part of an FA Cup or something.
Yeah, it was. They. I think Lincoln actually played at Anfield.
Oh right.
And my family managed to get tickets and went, and it was just amazing. And it's really good for a lower league.
Yeah, you get a lot of money from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they can make. It does so much wonderful stuff for the club.
I think the way it works is you split the gate. So if you go to a big stadium, then you get loads. It was like do you remember when Exeter played Liverpool in the FA Cup a few years ago, and they drew at Anfield Park, I think it was. And then they played their return leg at Exeter. So they were hosting, for those of you who don't know, Exeter Football Club is their St James's Park. The stadium is it's like an allotment compared to Kew Gardens, comparing it to Premier League football clubs. Well, it's a charming stadium.
It was. It's much, much bigger now.
Yeah, they added a stand
because they've just been doing a load of work. They've built quite a lot. And there's a massive big new logo outside the front of the state. It looks quite smart now. I haven't been in. I've been meaning to. Some of the choral scholars at the Cathedral are trying to get tickets to some season tickets, to go and see some games.
I've never been to a game there, and I know it's very cheap if you're a student. But it's a trash atmosphere. It's one of those stadiums where you get a lot of violence. Is it Portsmouth that we have a big rivalry with, or is it Plymouth?
I think so. It's probably one of those.
There was a derby clash.
Peru, might be Peru.
Yes, Peru. That's it. Sorry, silly me. Yeah, and whenever they play each other, the police always have to escort people, and they have mounted police and all that kind of thing because. Yeah,
well, we see people. I mean, I bet you remember. We'd see people coming past the house because we live so close. It's crazy, but I should really get down. In fact, I'm going to make that a challenge at some point this term. I'll go to a game, as I say. Some of the choral scholars were thinking of going to just for a laugh.
Well, I mean, you have to.
It's that close.
You will have to do it for the podcast and report back on your Critics' Corner. You can criticise that game of football.
Absolutely.
But yeah, okay. So your mum just sort of that for some reason historically, your mum's side has always just supported Liverpool.
I believe so. Yeah, I haven't. I should really ask. I have never really, as I say, I've never really taken a great deal of interest in it. I'll watch it and I get quite excited. I like watching football. Don't get me wrong. But that's the extent. I had a friend who came. Tom Noon came down and he brought a friend of his who was from Liverpool. Absolutely obsessed, and he thought we'd have a fun time in Firehouse for about an hour talking through the league and what was going to happen this season, and it's like a whole new level of knowledge. Just so clued in, and was kind of asking me because I think Tom said, "Oh yeah, Dan likes football," which I do, but it was just him talking at me, and I'd kind of go, I had absolutely nothing to add at all.
The level of knowledge, and it is this player is transferring, to such and such, but they were, that's probably because they enjoyed working with the manager who managed them at this other club 5 years ago for 6 months before they were sacked and replaced by this person. And
but then even getting into the he's been pushing them according to articles I've read. They've been doing such and such training exercises, which is far too early because they'll it's hard on the knees pre-season, which means they'll probably taper. It's like it's the kind of conversation, the kind of things that you read when you go to go to the races and you're talking about how they've you look into the horse's history. And you're like, well, it's meant to be tipped really well, but it's doing a lot of training on it's quite soft and damp underfoot where it comes from, whereas today's a very dry day, so you don't want to it's like, oh god, it's all quite full on.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose any sport you can really get into to that degree, but it does seem that football in particular, you get these people, and our dear friend Peter Robinson, who we used to sing with, was one of these people who just knew everything there was to know, and like in their spare time would play Football Manager, or be reading up on the news on it, and there's something about it that really draws people in, and you do get those kind of family dynasties of, you've broken the chain. Are your brothers dead into it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, both Joe and Ollie are still very, very good football players. They used to play. They played all over. They played in clubs in Australia and the Netherlands and got quite far up. And then since moving because they're at private schools in the UK, football isn't as big of a inter and intramural sport.
It's more
cricket
sport.
And rugby and. Yeah, absolutely. It's more of but they still, they still play and enjoy it, and that's good.
But yeah, you do get these dynasties of people who follow and not only into the sport, but like follow the same team for generations and generations. I mean, my mum follows Portsmouth. I'm pretty sure her parent or her dad did, because she was born in, I want to say specifically Gosport. But like down near Portsmouth, basically. Whereas in the West Country, we have a dearth of actual good teams. The best team in the West Country is Bristol City, but I never felt a particular affiliation with them. It's just not. I'm sure if I grew up near Liverpool or in London, where there are so many clubs, like I probably would have fallen into supporting the local team because it's what all the kids in your school would have been talking about. That's probably why I supported Man U, because there were probably just a bunch of kids in my school who were into it and liked Man U. Because there are like pictures of me in a Man U jersey when I have no connection to Manchester whatsoever.
Yeah.
I guess they were just the biggest and the best. I
suppose so. Yeah.
My mate, who I grew up with, Mark, he was a Newcastle fan to the extent where all of his first email address was Bob Marley loves Newcastle at Hotmail or something like that. Like he was so into it. But as far as I know, no connection whatsoever to Newcastle. I think the only reason he chose it was because Alan Shearer was playing for them at that time, and he was just like the big striker, like the big player, and you were kind of drawn in by the cool factor of that. But I don't know if the Beijing Guoan football club has one of those players with them. I'm just looking through this. The actual article.
Cross your fingers, I suppose.
The article that we randomized on is such a small article because it was the team that the club fielded in this one season, including Wang Dong. Whereas that's another merch idea. We could make some. We could all just get reproductions of Wang Dong's football shirt for this club. Yeah, but the interesting. The article for the club is much, much longer, and I'm getting snow blindness just by looking at it. There's so much going on.
Well, speaking of snow blindness and so much going on, Evensong today.
Oh, do tell.
I'm sure I've mentioned before, the structure of Evensong we're probably all familiar with now because we go on about it so much. The Psalms for today are the notorious 15th evening, which is Psalm 78. Now, Exeter Cathedral sing full psalter. You do sing full psalms for the day, which means you usually change chant at least 5 times, and it's about maybe 2 to 3 pages. So quite a big psalm. Psalm 78, on the other hand, is a 72 verse psalm, which means there were 7 pages to sing, which was made all the more hilarious because we walked in and there was an announcement just before the procession saying, oh, by the way, we've got about 38 Dutch visiting organists in the congregation who just happen to be in the... Yeah, they're going around... basically going on a tour of good English, fine English organs and their buildings. And they came to hit, and I felt so awful for them because they're like, oh yeah, we'll go to Evensong, we'll hear a bit of music, it'll be lovely. But the psalms for tonight just went on and on, and it was brilliant. It was really, really, really good fun. But it's one of those really epic psalms where it's lots of, it's very kind of fire and brimstone. It's quite exciting.
Psalms when they're like that though are just so exciting,
Yeah, so I'm trying to find let me see if I can find a good example of one of that. Yeah, here we go. They remembered not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy, how he had wrought his signs in Egypt, and his wonders of the field of Zoan, and had turned their rivers into blood, and their streams, so they could not drink. He sent divers sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. He gave also their harvest unto the caterpillar, and their labour unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and he gave up their cattle also to hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolt. It's just all, you get these moments where the choir is just going from nothing, and then the organ explodes, and we all just scream like, and he was really scary, but he was good if you believed in him. But if you didn't, he was really scary. But it was mainly okay, It
was mainly okay. They made a movie adaptation of it with Val Kilmer starring Moses and the Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, oh man, it's pretty epic, yeah. It was very, very fun.
Those poor Dutch organists didn't know what hit them.
I know, it was just mad. They had I think they had quite a good, they visited on a good day. It was Locust Day by Bruckner as the anthem, which is, quite nice, quite friendly. And then Howell's New College service, which was new to me.
You described it as something else before we started the podcast.
Yeah, piece of shit, I believe, was the specific description. It's just not very good. It's very not Howellsy. There's moments where you'll kind of you'll recognise a kind of a motif. Usually it's like a dotted crotchet tied to a quaver, and you're like, oh, it's Howells. But then other than that, it's just a bit kind of underwhelming. When we've recently sung his Westminster service, his St Paul's service, and his Gloucester service, it was just a bit just underwhelming. But what I did do on the weekend, and this will be the last choral point. In fact, we're going to make a brief interlude into Choral Corner.
Because to be honest, we're done with the article. Should we just hop on over to Dan's Choral Corner? Hang on. Wait a minute, folks. We're just going to put a jingle in here right now. Okay, as you were, Dan.
Okay, so I sang. My Sunday consists usually of Eucharist in the morning and Evensong in the afternoon. Now, Evensong this Sunday was different because it was the installation of the new Bishop of Crediton.
Oh,
which was a very interesting service because not only did it go on for much longer than it normally does, and there are a few kind of interesting things that happen within the service. There's a load of stuff that happens out of view from the public before the service begins. So normally we sing in the choir, Q-U-I-R-E, rather than singing in the nave, the main body of the cathedral. Yeah. This time, because there were going to be so many people, the Evensong was sung in the nave. But before that, we processed from the vestry, which is where we gather to kind of derobe and pray before and after service. We walked through into a building called the Chapter House, which if you were standing outside Exeter Cathedral, is just to the right of the building. And we all process in, so the entire choir go in, the members of the cathedral chapter, so the various different canons, like canon precentor, canon treasurer, blah, blah, blah. And then members of the College of Canons, a load of random like deacons and archdeacons, Bishop of Exeter, the new Bishop of Crediton, the Bishop of Plymouth. Everyone goes into the chapter house and then they lock all the doors. So we're all locked in. And there's this weird ritual kind of moment where basically there's this big up that these two canons speaking to the Dean of Exeter.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Have to go and approach the Bishop of Exeter and say, we would like to install this new bishop. And there's this big old ceremony about making sure it's all okay. And there was this amazing moment. I don't know if you've seen footage of, when Houses of Parliament are opened.
Oh, and they smash it with the mace. Yeah.
Yeah, Black Rod has to go up and has to knock on the door. And he walks up and then the door is slammed in his face and then he has to ask permission to enter the house. And they say yes. Well, a similar thing happens in Exeter. So there's this moment where where Mr. Dean has to turn around to kind of like the head verger and make sure that everything's okay in the surrounds of the building that it's all right for this service to go ahead. So they have to say, are there any? I believe this specific phrase was, are there any I don't think, is it consummacious?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Consummacious. I don't know. Maybe consummacious or something. It's basically like, are there any shifty folk about? But they don't say about. They say, I'm going to say it's consummacious. Are there any consummacious persons without? And then the verger heads over to the big, like the great doors of the chapter house, opens up this little peephole, like in Lord of the Rings when they're trying to get into
the
Prancing Pony.
There's one for men and one for hobbits.
Yeah. So he looks out and has a peek around, and then kind of closes it, and then turns around to the dean and says, "All is well without." And then the dean looks back and kind of looks around and has a nod, and he's like, "Let the great doors be opened." And then they open the doors, and then we all process out of the building, like out into the outside, and then back into the main body of the cathedral, and then the service is allowed to begin. And that happens at both ends, and you've got this, it's just this weird kind of showy, archaic, it was really cool.
So that's obviously like at one point in the past, for the appointment of that process, somebody has been like spying, or there's been some, like one time they needed to have checked if there were people, whatever the word is, consummatious people hanging around. And so that's now become part of the ceremony every time. Like, imagine, like, if at some point in the past, like, as part of the ceremony, somebody span around 3 times by accident. And then they were like, oh, we've got to do that every time now. Like, has to go into the center of the chapel, spin around 3 times, and then proceed to give the verger a grubby fiver, and then a wink, and then carry on. And that's just, like, part of the ceremony now.
It's just, it's really weird. It's very cool though. So she was this new bishop, Bishop Jackie is the new bishop of Crediton. She's come from Gloucester Cathedral, where she was archdeacon and residentiary canon, which meant that's why we sang "How's Gloucester" for her. And then all of the other music was John Sanders, because he was at Gloucester, where we did a really, really interesting, very, very difficult anthem, but it's a beautiful piece. And this will be my piece of the week.
We need a jingle for that.
Yeah. I need to also remember
Tapio,
the name of it.
Get us a jingle for Dan's piece of the week.
My piece of the week, drum roll please, will be John Sanders' arrangement called "A Prayer for Cardinal Newman." It also goes by the title "O Lord, Support Us." There is a very, very fine recording, and I think it's one of the only ones, by the choir of Gonville and Caius College, Cambridge.
Horrible college.
Well, but they've got a very good choir.
Do they?
Interestingly,
do they?
They actually do. They really do. I had a wander around the college. It was quite nice.
That's trash.
Okay. But yeah, it's called. You'll need to pop into YouTube. "A Prayer for Cardinal Newman." There's a big blue. There's kind of like a washed out thumbnail with a blue kind of album art, and it's got a picture of John Sanders in a circle. We'll provide it in the show notes, but it's really, really nice, and it's classic Sanders. It's really interesting to listen to, because what you think is quite a simple tune is just the crunchiest, most ungodly pig of a piece to sing, because it's just so...
Oh, so you have selected this because it's difficult?
Oh yeah, it was just mental, and I think it's safe to say that the second tenors probably have the hardest line in the entire piece. But yeah, it was well worth it, and it was such a tremendous sense of kind of fulfillment when we got through it, because it was the best one, and the best kind of time we've sung it was in the service. But yeah, give it a listen. It's really cool. I hope people like it. There you go.
Okay, well that's that. Yeah. I will have to listen to that, because that's a new one to me.
Yeah, what I shall do is I'll send you a link now, and then we'll pop it in the show notes so people can find it. Okie
dokie. Well, so this is now Critic's Corner, isn't it?
It is now.
We leapt beyond the threshold. So I have a few things to talk about, not a huge amount. I want to give a shout out and to discuss a channel which I don't think you know about. I may be completely wrong, but I binged a whole bunch of his videos, and that's the Cosmonaut Variety Hour.
Right.
And I will send you this link, and it will also be in the show notes, along with everything else we talk about, like every week. It's a dude who does basically is doing for film what I am trying to do for science stuff, in that he does video essays, but also incorporates live action elements into it. And in particular, I completely binged his 3-part review of every single Marvel Cinematic Universe film. Like, he reviewed every single one and then ranked them as a retrospective. And I just really completely fell in love with how he makes videos. It's quite the comparison that I can make is it's like Up Is Not Jump.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And yeah, but imagine that, but for films. So he did the thing on Pacific Rim Uprising, which I never planned on watching, and I'm definitely not going to after that one.
Was it particularly scathing?
Yeah, it's basically his review is 2 out of 10. Don't watch this movie, for the love of God. Don't watch this movie. Like, seriously, this isn't a joke. Don't watch this movie, I think was the end of the review, which is, really says that it's great. But yeah, totally off my radar. And then he appeared in my recommendeds, and I absolutely sort of just, how you discover a new channel sometimes, and you're like, this is amazing. I need to get every single one of your videos in my brain. And so that was my discovery. Along with this, there was another guy called. He has an honorific. Lord Vinhetero, who you've probably seen in the recommendeds on YouTube. He's a guy who looks a bit like Notch, as in YouTube. Sorry, Minecraft Notch.
Minecraft Notch, yeah.
Playing a piano. And he's basically just the same video over and over again. From the looks of things, he's a dude who knows how to play the piano and has memorized a few pieces and has done a channel that's now like nearly 3 million subscribers out of it. It's just a little bit frustrating, really, because like I watched 3 minutes of it and I was like, yeah, this is fun. But then you kind of realize that pretty much all of these videos are exactly the same, and this is not a huge amount of effort to make. Like,
yeah.
It was so
that's annoying.
that was something else I mentioned before we started recording, was that I ended up talking to a PhD student, Zoe Glatt, who's doing a PhD in YouTube. She's doing her PhD as a digital ethnography of YouTube, and specifically looking at how creators view how they view and use different platforms simultaneously. So how I, as a YouTuber, for example, view Instagram and Twitter and Twitch, and how I put myself across on those different platforms, and how different that is compared to YouTube. Really interesting project. But it means that I have been like thinking very cynically all day about YouTube, and just getting a wee bit depressed of thinking like I set all these artificial rules and restrictions on myself because I hold myself to a high standard when it comes to making content, and refusing to give in to not necessarily clickbait, but refusing to. God, I don't even really know how to put it into not very many words. It's basically trying to maintain artistic integrity is the short version. And I know that if I didn't do that, I would make so much money. Like, I just know that I could make an absolute killing, but I would be selling out to do so. It's not the same, but like in a similar kind of way to how if I did a physics degree and I was really into research, and then I decided, actually, I'm going to go work in the city and earn a buttload of money doing a soulless job. Yeah. So I've been basically looking at like Lord Vinteterra's channel as just like, I just make life so difficult for myself, in the sense that like, if only I had lower standards for my behavior and for my content, and just wanted to churn out content over and over and over again, I could make so much money. But that's ultimately not why I do YouTube, I suppose.
No, well, that's the thing. It's what what are you in it for?
Yeah, I mean, I do YouTube because, well, I mean, I started doing YouTube for the social sort of change aspects of it, the social mobility aspect, and now I mostly do it because of the artistic side of it. It's because I view it as an artistic output. It's basically my childhood dream of being a filmmaker made real, and it's more than that. I'm a filmmaker and a science communicator all at once. Which is
2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah, which is nuts. Like, that is absolutely nuts. What I do. It's just that, like, because my bottom line isn't financial, I don't make very much money from doing it. really.
Yeah.
And because that's not the priority. Yeah, it's oh, I don't know. It just talking about it for so long and really analyzing it, because when you're a creator, you don't get to sit down and talk about this stuff. Like, the closest I get on a regular basis is this podcast, where we actually like analyze the industry a little bit sometimes.
Yes.
Like in everyday life, I know that Pixel Girl isn't interested in that kind of thing, and I wouldn't want to inflict on her like incessant conversations about the YouTube meta. My parents aren't interested in it, and I think it's interesting talking to people online about it, as in like fans and things like that about it. But it really puts it into stark contrast when you sit down with someone who's passionately interested in it, like I am, and you just think, shit.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be an absolutely fascinating PhD topic, because there's already so much to say. It'll be interesting to see what findings she kind of draws and the conclusions she makes. And
because I was talking to her about how I want to write a book on this stuff, like about how YouTube and society and creators kind of sociologically interact. And so I one of the reasons I agreed to doing the interview is because I knew I was going to get some reading from her, like some recommended reading in like textbook form, which I did. So now I have like a baseline to start sort of pulling together my own account of this stuff, because I think I have something of a unique perspective in the sense that I've been a creator for a long ass time. I've been doing this stuff for 8 years, and also trained as an academic. So in the sense of writing it and pulling all this stuff together, I know how to deal with a large project like a thesis in an academic way. But also then when it's released, you have the credibility aspect of it. It's just, he's not some dumb YouTuber. He's got a PhD,
yes.
So I'm kind of in a unique position to be able to write something like this. But yeah, I mean, and it would be totally different from what Zoe's doing. Like, she's doing it as an ethnography, like a boots on the ground. I was a vlogger, and this was my experience, and this is, from the inside and talking to other creators, how they perceive all these different formats. Which is an interesting thing, because recently I've been streaming. I don't know if you saw, but I was doing some streaming on Twitch of your favorite game ever made. This past weekend, I was playing some Kerbal Space Program because I was inspired.
I was going to say, like, did you choose Horde or Alliance?
No, unfortunately, I was being ironic. Basically, after going to see the Mars rover at Stevenage, I really fancied playing some Kerbal Space Program for some reason. So I am currently in the middle of, I've built a rover, and I now want to try and get it to the Kerbal equivalent of Mars, which is more difficult than it sounds, because first you've got to get a satellite in orbit around Mars, quote unquote, in order to be able to talk to it, because you can't put a satellite, you can't put like an antenna that's big enough on the rover and not have some outrageously large payload. So basically I've done 2 streams and I've completely failed. We haven't accomplished anything, but I did build a space plane and managed to land it. So that was something.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've always struggled with space planes, but if you actually know what you're doing, it's not too bad. It's like, you basically, as long as the center of mass and the center of thrust are in the same place, it's flyable. And then from that point, it's just knowing what the components do. But yeah, so I've been doing some streaming, and like, I've remembered how much I like streaming. Like, I intend to do it every week now. I want to do an educational stream and then maybe a gaming stream every week. Partly for the financial aspect of it, but also it actually makes me play games and actually take some time off, which I think what's kind of sad actually is that I wouldn't take the time off to play video games if it wasn't somehow useful to me in a career sense. This way, like by streaming, I get to play games, but also feel like I'm being productive for my career. So it actually makes me take time off, if that makes sense.
Again, it's that 2 birds, 1 stone thing. You can justify it because it's serving more than one purpose.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's also not very healthy to think of things that way. And I was having a chat to Alex Lathbridge, Thermodynamics, about it. Yeah. He also turned up on my stream. When I asked people for music recommendations, he was the first one to get in there. So I was taking off and landing the space plane, called Kevin Spacey, by the way.
Strong.
It's all right, there are no children in the game. To the strains of Run the Jewels. It's like really quite aggressive hip hop in my ears, like trying to delicately land the space plane.
Yeah.
It's like, it chooses now to identify as a ground man. Oh, we're on the ground. Yeah, so yeah, it's like doing, and what we were talking about earlier was, sorry, this is a very long, rambly discussion, but sort of comparing how I put myself across on Twitch to how I put myself across on YouTube. And like, for example, on YouTube, I don't allow swearing on my channel, but we do in the Wikicast, but we censor it. But then I don't stop myself from swearing on my Twitch. Like, and so that's sort of like a small example of then what image are you putting across on the different platforms. Because I mean, how do you, because you have made content with me, but you are not a content creator per se on YouTube or on Twitch. How would you describe how you perceive Twitch and YouTube, like, by comparison?
I think you hit the nail on the head in that. I think you get a much more real experience with a creator on Twitch than you do on YouTube, because more often than not, the YouTube side is more tailored and potentially censored, and it's edited fundamentally. Whereas Twitch in essence is a webcam. It's still very much up to the individual to see how much of a performance they can put on, and how much of that is kind of showmanship for the camera and a character that they may want to play. But I think 9 times out of 10, a Twitch persona is going to be more real than a YouTube persona. Yeah,
but because fundamentally it's not edited. Like, that is the key distinction. And I feel like that's possibly why people are increasingly younger people, and do correct me if I'm wrong, readers. I'd like to get some emails on this. I think that's why a lot of younger people are going and watching more Twitch compared to YouTube, because they feel like they're getting that more truthful take. Like, there isn't that barrier of the editing between them and the person who they're looking up to. Because, as I said in my TED talk, that is like that's what people associate with social media. They associate the platform, like the format, just physically watching it on your phone, with truthfulness, because it's what they consume video from their friends as. And I think possibly people are tuning into the fact, like, younger people are now becoming a bit more aware of the fact that the image on YouTube is curated and it's monetized, and people are doing stuff for sponsorships, and it is like, I watch some of the stuff that Pixel Girl watches, and it's just so embarrassing how shameless some of the monetization is.
Well, it's like, how you used to cringe in between cartoons at these stupid adverts for things like, usually kids with their voices dubbed over with other child actors' voices being like, the new Mega Man kind of, oh yeah, that's, buy now at Toys R Us, that is, and you'd cringe at that. But what's happening on YouTube is just the same. But it's being packaged in a slightly different way that's meant to play upon a degree of reality. You think, oh, it's a genuine thing, and I think it's very, very easy to use the whole, the easiest way to support your creator is to buy their merchandise, but then it becomes kind of like, oh, the easiest way to support a creator is to aid them financially, whether that's buying their merchandise or kind of like, if you go to this website where these people make these socks and use this code, you'll get, it's just things like that. It's a really interesting, it'll be interesting to see in, like, maybe 100, 200 years to look back and have social scientists kind of analyze this period of online content.
I mean, that's why, one of the reasons why I'm quite keen to write something about this, because I feel like I am on, like, this is obviously a completely overblown comparison, but it does somewhat feel like you're on the beaches of Normandy, like you are there in the moment, going through it and being able to actually say, if I can write this stuff down, if I can capture how I am feeling as a creator at this moment, academically evaluating it, that's potentially something quite valuable to people, in the future. But yeah, it's just so... I think that there are so many angles of attack to, like, talking about this, because you can talk about how the way that we consume media and the media which gets popular is so largely determined by an algorithm, like a machine learning algorithm on YouTube, or the Google algorithm. Like, that's one aspect to sort of how it's changing. But what's also changing it is how young people, it seems in particular, when and how they cotton on to the meta in the sense of how stuff is monetized and how stuff how the industry works. And like, people are always interested in how YouTubers make money and how the industry works. Like, there is always that desire to know, and I feel like when they find out, it changes then how they perceive the content. And the people who are just brashly out there with, or just like, you know, don't even seem to bother hiding the monetization. I feel like those are the kind of channels that then suffer from people then having the knowledge about how it works, because they see how little effort some of these people are putting into their content. Possibly I'm salty about this because you know, I've done 2 science videos recently which have been the best things I think I've ever made from a video perspective. And like, they've done terribly. Whereas you look at some channels who have, you know, particularly individual channels who have built up large followings from really not doing very much in their videos, and just, you know, from like, objectively, their videos are nowhere near as developed. Like, as in, nowhere near as much thought, effort has gone into it, and the end result is amateur by comparison. And yet, it does so much better by every metric imaginable, apart from, you know, how much knowledge somebody actually gets from the video. But in terms of views and in terms of monetization, you know, so possibly, you know, take my rant, dear reader, in this section with a pinch of salt, just because it's frustrating me at the moment that, like, I always have this assumption that quality will eventually win out, and good stuff will just draw people's attention in eventually. And what I've been experiencing recently is that isn't always true. I mean, maybe it will in the long term.
I think it's so much down to the kind of the YouTube as a medium and as a forum and a space. You know, like, it's not true. I think, you know, I've seen, usually, interestingly, and I should ask this person. She makes music videos, and she usually always puts them up on Vimeo.
Yeah.
Rather than that, because I think that's more of a fair space for kind of for creators with a strong sense of artistic integrity.
Yeah, I mean, it has a different set of cultural cues associated with it. Like, Vimeo is, you think of it as a place for artists, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there isn't such a clear scheme of monetization there. There are no adverts on the videos, right?
Yeah,
and, you know, just the player itself, you associate the player on YouTube, and the fact that there is that YouTube logo in the top left and they have the recommendations on the right, like, you just associate that subconsciously with a certain kind of content, regardless of how good the quality actually is. Whereas on Vimeo, you then have a completely cultural, way less strong, you know, they're not coded as strongly, but completely different cultural cues. And, like, it's just, this is why I think YouTube needs a competitor, because there isn't one. Like, Vimeo is the closest thing to a competitor, but there's no way that you get creators to actually move their full-time jobs over to Vimeo. You know? Like, but what's the alternative at the moment? At the moment, we have to stick with YouTube because it's the only site we have where it's even vaguely possible to do what we do.
Yeah, it monopolizes the
and so you monopolizes the cultural cues that people associate with your content. You have to live with the fact that people are going to watch your video, regardless of how good it is, with a certain set of preconceptions and assumptions in mind. And it does seem that for the majority of people, that those go counter to an experience and watching a product which is actually good quality. I don't know. I am probably just being a bit salty about all of this, but.
No, I don't know. I think you got something that you're very, very deeply connected with and clearly care a great deal about, because it's your job, certainly at the moment. It'll be, I'm very excited to hear what this PhD will turn out. I imagine it's going to be a very interesting read, especially for people who are interested in the online community and the video making community specifically.
Yeah, I mean, and because Zoe's been at a few conferences, and, you know, she was at VidCon in the US, she was at SITSI in the UK, and, like, I think it'll be interesting to see, you know, which creators that she's talked to will pick her back up on it and be like, can I read the thesis when you're done? Because I think a certain kind of creator couldn't give two shits. Whereas, you know, certain people like me, and probably, you know, I think if you were locked in a room with it, you'd probably end up reading it as well. You know, you would find it interesting because just the way we view the world, like we actually think about this meta aspect to it not to say that, you know, other creators don't, but I don't know. I feel like I probably overthink things. Not necessarily a good thing. Sorry, I've been whilst we've been talking, Sally LePage, favourites, our second favourite biologist, has been messaging me. She just sent me a message that said, video games make me sick. Apparently she's been playing Firewatch.
Oh, such a good game.
I knew you'd say that.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good.
Hang on, I'm gonna ask her, other than the motion sickness, how did you like the game? She said, all I did was tell some kids not to set off fireworks in a national park. Now I have a terrible migraine.
Oh, so she's like that's like in the first 20 minutes.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's some kids playing in the water, and you have to go, and then the whole thing, much like with I'm not going to say because it would massively spoil the game, but there's huge twists.
It was Hannah from the Ogscast played it, didn't she? And
yeah, she
Sips
did. I saw her first. Well, I saw Sips do it first, I think, and I got to like episode 2 and was like, right, I have to buy this game.
I think
it looks.
I might end up cycling back around to it, to be fair.
Well, my housemate and I, James, have both recently chipped in to buy the new Assassin's Creed.
Oh, Odyssey,
because it's set in ancient Greece, it's really cool. I've played a bit of it, but it's just great to see, a lot of the things that I've studied in my degree. Actually, I'm not there in the game yet, but there'll be sections where you'll be able to like walk around the Parthenon, which is just cool.
Oh, because they do seem to be pushing the educational side of the games a bit more. Like they did one in Egypt, didn't they?
That was Origins, yeah.
Yeah, I've never played any Assassin's Creed. It's one of those games that I feel like I probably
they're really good.
Would
they're really good. I liked Black Flag. That was kind of interesting. But yeah, there's loads of really cool bonus tidbits in Odyssey so far. Like one of the quests, you had to go to Odysseus's palace and find Penelope's shroud, which you use becomes your first like assassin's hood. And there's these you can pick up bonus notes where you're like, if you travel north, you'll find the pig farm or the goat farm where Odysseus first met Athena. And you go and you're like, it's really cool. Like, as I say, for someone who studies classics. And
so
English,
is this a bit more of a faithful adaptation than, for example, Disney's Hercules?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's probably safe to say that this is slightly more grounded in.
They've actually consulted a classicist at some point.
At some point, yeah, there's some inaccuracies, but equally, much like with any fictitious interpretation, it would be very boring if you just stuck to fact. But yeah, I think for the whole, it's been pretty accurate. So
okay, weather update. It's raining. So I asked Sally, I just said, by the way, I'm recording an episode. And I was like, do you want to be in the episode? And she just sent me a picture of what she looks like. Which is to say, like, she's in bed and apparently looks gross. And I'm just like, it's a podcast, Sally. What you look like doesn't matter.
Okay, bless her. Oh well, I hope her migraine goes away.
I'll just say, Dan hopes your migraine goes away.
Gets worse.
Goes away. Oh wait, no. He said, gets worse.
Thanks, mate.
He just said thanks, mate. Sorry, this is fun. I hope that you guys at home are enjoying this this conversation.
This very meta episode.
Sorry, she's now said thanks, Dan, and then another message immediately after that says "F you, Dan."
Oh, that's nice. F you too.
F you very much, Sally.
Yeah.
Like she. Oh yeah. I suppose we should say congratulations because Sally has handed in her PhD thesis.
Yes, I saw.
So
amazing.
Massive congratulations, Sally. I don't know if you're ever going to listen to these now, though, because I know you listen to these when you were counting dead flies, and you don't tend to do that in your spare time quite so much. So maybe we'll never listen to this, but well done. Also, well done to Inace, have you met Inace, Dan? I can't remember.
Yeah, I met her at VidCon.
Oh, of course you did, yeah. They both submitted on the same day, I think.
Oh, cool.
So they are both done with their PhDs at Oxford. Well, I mean, they've got to do the Viva and everything, but well done to the both of you. I know exactly how strenuous it is. Inace actually showed me her thesis because we were both filming at the Airbus thing. And it's like 260 pages or something. She was like, well, a lot of it is padding out. I was like, still a lot in here, Inace. Like this, apparently she was worried it was going to be too short. But no, I don't think that was going to be a problem.
That's crazy.
Also, Sally has finally replied, saying, "I'll leave you to chat and waste people's precious time on this earth while I contemplate the underside of my pillow." Nice vid, by the way. Shame about the views.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Sally.
There you go. Thanks, Sally. Thanks for that input.
Shall we chat some and waste people's time in Patreon corner, Dan?
Let's do it.
Top lad.
Patreon.
Gotta catch 'em all. Their dollars will see us through.
You'll teach me and
I'll pay you. Patreon.
Gotta catch 'em all.
Gotta catch 'em all. Patreon. Why is that not our intro?
So it's that time again where we find ourselves in Patreon Corner. This is the moment of the podcast where we'd like to say a special thank you to our top lads, those who pledge $5 a month or more to ensure that this podcast keeps going. It includes things such as paying for our hosting, allowing us to do our first foray into merchandise, which was very exciting.
Or our first Duruflé into merchandise.
Very nice, very nice. It's a requiem joke for you there, everyone.
Sorry, I just wrecked your intro.
Okay, easy, Tiger. And we'll be wrapping up in just a bit later with updating you on the Team Dog, Team Cat standings. But first, we'd like to say a massive
Before we say massive thank you to our top lad patrons, is there any update on the John Rutter Memorial Home for Injured Swans Fun Run T-shirt?
So the designs have been getting better and better. I've now got it's nearly ready. It's nearly there. I'm going to need a little bit more time to kind of finalize it, but it's gonna. I promise this is going to happen. I was meant to do a bit more this weekend, but it's been quite a hectic weekend. I haven't really found much time.
People seem to be very keen for this idea. I think we should do a limited run,
I'm massively keen to do
30 shirts or something, just like a super limited run.
And I am going to message. If you love memes, which if you haven't liked, you absolutely should.
I put it in the show notes last time. Yeah. I'm so
we'll
excited
see if they
to see
can
what you design. I'm so excited for this project.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. But yes, it will be coming. I just need a bit more time to devote to it.
Okay.
But back to our top lads.
Yes.
A massive thank you must go out to Ben Dent, Ben McMurtry, Billy Toulson,
Choco Cat, Connor Levers, Dan Hanvey,
Davi Shram Vontabel, David Scahill, Elliot Conway,
Eric Davis, Habiba Amjad, who, as I now know, I have been informed, does have Twitter, and Henry Brewster,
Isabel Ostrovsky, Jay Wright, John Mannion,
Geordie Eschendahl, Kyle Much, Lachlan Woods, and Lewis Watson,
Lindsay Van Ryn, Marut Vakira Punyawat, Matt Maguire,
Fee Gascoigne, Rory Healy, and Simon Torseth.
And finally, Simon Vase, Tapio Kirkinen, the Boo Stash Man, and Wonderful Stephen.
Oh, wonderful people all. Really, we should be
Wonderful
appending...
people.
Sorry, what's the opposite to appending where you put it at the start? There must be a name for that. We should be putting wonderful before everyone's names. Hang on, what's the opposite?
So it would be the antonym of appending.
Appending. There must be a word for it. Yeah, here we go. Hang on. Single word request. What are the antonyms of append?
Append simply means add to or attach to. It is not restricted to adding something to the end or after.
That's interesting, because I would have assumed it would be something like prepend or something like that to put it at the beginning. And that append was... well, we should be appending everything.
Like suffix and prefix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we should be including wonderful in everyone's names was the point I was trying to make, and then we got distracted by language as always.
Absolutely.
But yes, they're all wonderful people. What I have done, by the way, since the last episode, is I have updated our Patreon. So we now have a goal. We currently are earning $175 a month from patreon.com/the Wikicast. We really need to get better at actually saying the URL. And if we reach $200 a month, then what we're going to do is up our support to Wikimedia from £50 a month. Sorry, from £20 a month to £50 a month. Because at the moment, we are not, apart possibly from the John Rutter t-shirts, this money isn't going anywhere. So we may as well be putting it towards something that's actually useful. So we talked about it last time, so we're going to up our support to £50 if we reach $200 a month, and as well as that, we already post for our hosting and for merchandise costs. So that is why our Patreon keeps the lights on and allows us to do this and generally justify me spending 6 hours a week making a podcast that's just full of non-content. Because we love doing it, but I have to financially justify it. But Dan also asked earlier for an update on Team Dog versus Team Cat, and I'm pretty sure that this has been clawed back a little bit because Team Cat is on 28 patrons now compared to Team Dog's 35 patrons. So we're still behind.
That's good. Improvements.
I think that is better than it was. I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, Team Cat's still behind. Come on, guys. Like, I know there are more cat listeners out there, and there are plenty of people who have cats who have $1 a month who like this show. I have no doubt. So you could, if that is you, dear reader, if you have $1 spare going every month and you'd like to support the show, and a vast chunk of it is going to be going to Wikimedia now, then you can put your dollar in for Team Cat at patreon.com/the Wikicast and just generally help share the load with everyone else. Also, an additional note, we have put a post up there asking what should we do for our Halloween special that's coming in. When's that going to be? It's going to be, that's going to be next week.
Ooh.
Because basically, it's going to be on the 27th. So yes, that'll be next week. Is going to be our Halloween one. So we have some suggestions already, but do leave your suggestions on the post on the Patreon with what we should be doing for Halloween. That's a patron only thing. So you have to be a patron to contribute to that. But yeah, ooh, yes. Spoopy next week.
Spoopy.
But thank you so much to our patrons. You allow us to do the show. And without further ado, should we move on to the next part of said show?
Absolutely. Crisis Corner. Here we come.
Sorry, top lad. Top lad.
So, Simon, have you chosen an anonymous crisis for this week?
I do, in fact. Sorry. Hang on. Oh my god, that's so sour. Sorry, I was just sucking on a lemon. Okay, yeah. Wow, that was really sour.
What? Hang on. Why?
I had a lemon in my drink. Like, I had some water, and so I drank the water because we've been going for like an hour, and I was like, oh, the lemon looks really juicy. I'll just suck on that, like to give me some sugar and to, give me some sustenance. And then it was way sourer than I was expecting.
Fair enough. Okay. All right, mate. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I've just got a very sour
Did your
mouth.
pills for today, or are you gonna?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just feeling so depressed about the whole YouTube thing. I'm just gonna end it all via sour-based foodstuffs.
Wow. Okay.
It's a hell of a way to go. I'm gonna look like the Witch King of Angmar.
Yeah, absolutely. Imploding.
Like in the Fellowship of the Ring, though, where when Frodo has the ring on and you see their faces, it just looks like he's a dude who's been sucking on lemons for 10,000 years, and his face is all just like.
I am no sweet citrus.
Anyway, yes, I do have an email, Daniel, from Anonymous, who writes, Dear Simon and Dan, I hope you're both doing well and acquired some Ghost Chili chocolate since episode 43, although I guess those two are mutually exclusive. Yes, we have! Vignesh, you've been talking to him, haven't you?
Yes, I have. So he's going to be emailing. Well, he's not going to be emailing them because then I wouldn't get them. He's going to post them to us, and I'll be sure to update Simon when they arrive. They are actually being sent to Exeter Cathedral. I don't know.
They may not
how it's
survive.
going to be received. Well, I mean, they're going to be. Hopefully, they've been put in my name, and if not, I have emailed saying ideally write my name and maybe put brackets Choral Scholar on it. But otherwise, I might send an email to the reception saying, "Oh, there might be something coming. If you could keep an eye on it, that would be great."
Something
but
wicked this way comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep an eye out.
But yes, I'll keep an eye out, and then as soon as they come through, Simon and I will find a time to meet up, and we'll do maybe a video special or something of us eating these spicy chocolates.
The other thing I was thinking was perhaps we should do. We've been talking about the Atomic Burger Hottest Burger Challenge. Maybe we should just do that as a special video, like just before Christmas or something. We should go to Oxford and film that just for the lols.
Yeah.
Next time you're back in Oxford, we can time it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
That sounds good to me. I do desperately want to go. I'll see if I can find a time where I'm not singing something Christmassy.
Yes. Well, it doesn't have to be before Christmas. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked, but I just thought I'd put that out there. Anyway, Anonymous writes, I have a big decision to make in the next couple of months, and I'd really appreciate both your perspectives. So we're not going to give our perspectives in this episode. We are going to read this out, and then you, dear reader, you're going to email in to spongyelectric@gmail.com with your sort of crisis corner advice. And we will read out the correspondence in the corner next week, and we will then also talk about our response based on that correspondence. Does that make we did last week?
And then next week we'll end the segment by reading out a new crisis, and so the cycle continues.
Absolutely, ad finitum until the heat death of the universe.
Ad nauseam.
Yeah.
It's all going to be
and
super.
and those, incidentally, if you do have a crisis, if you're a reader in crisis, send us that also to spongyelectric@gmail.com with Crisis Corner in the subject line, and we anonymize anything that is sent, including the responses to crises. Everything is anonymized in this section. So do send us your feedback on this, and also if you are in crisis, send us your crisis. But next week, we're going to be talking about Anonymous's crisis, which is that they are currently in the third year of a BSc in genetics and looking for options for postgraduate study. They've narrowed down their options to the 3 choices listed. A, go to a different uni to my current undergraduate one. This one is much more highly ranked in the league tables and looks absolutely amazing. Perfect course and campus. My only issue is I will have to live at home and commute in. Since leaving for uni, my mum thought it would be a good idea to turn my room into a gym. Tragic, I know. Therefore, I'd be sleeping on a sofa bed in the conservatory, adding onto this having screaming younger siblings running around the house. I'm worried this living situation would affect my concentration, studying, etc. My postgraduate loan wouldn't come close to paying for my accommodation if I went to this uni, so living elsewhere isn't really an option. That was option A. Option B, stay at the current uni and apply for an MSc. With this option, I would be entitled to the postgraduate loan. After taking off course fees and accommodation, I'd have roughly £1,500 to live on for the year. Not impossible, but certainly a tighter budget. I'll graduate in the summer with my friends/course mates and then start my new course in September with a qualification to my name. I also wouldn't have to worry about younger siblings distracting me when I'm doing coursework and actually have a bedroom. Option C, my final option, is to transfer onto the integrated masters at my current uni. With this option, I would continue to get the undergraduate loan, which would leave me with roughly £4,500 to live on after rent. I'm a first-generation uni student from a working-class family, so get the max loan. Good on you. With this amount of student finance, I would be able to live comfortably and wouldn't have my concentration affected by lacking a quiet place to study or younger siblings. My biggest issue with this option is I won't graduate alongside my friends/course mates and won't have a qualification in the bank. This may sound quite superficial to be an issue, but it would certainly be nice to have something to show for my work so far. Thank you in advance, Anonymous. P.S. Congratulations, Simon, on getting your thesis correction approved, and good luck, Dan, with third year. So, an interesting one, this. Basically, do we go for option A, which is a better university, but what sounds like a not great living situation? Option B, staying at the current uni and then going on to do a master's after graduating with not very much money at all? Or option C, staying at the university but transferring onto an integrated master's, which gives more money, but then you don't graduate with your friends and you only then have one qualification at the end rather than 2. So this is an interesting one. I think a lot of readers are going to have some thoughts on this.
I already know what I would recommend.
I'm actually not sure. I think
but
I know.
Will have to save it for next week.
I think I know what I'm recommending. But yeah, we'll have to. But what was interesting was last week I had some thoughts and then they were kind of blown out of the water by a reader who wrote in. So
yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, dear reader, if you have an opinion on this, and you would like us to read it out on the show, send an email to spongyelectric@gmail.com with Crisis Corner response in the subject line, and we will anonymize all those emails, so you're not going to be outed if you want to sort of shout at Anonymous. They're not going to know who you are, you don't know who they are. And we will hopefully have a bunch of interesting correspondence to read out next time. I think this is going to be kind of an interesting one. I feel like Dan and I might have quite different responses to this. So we'll see. Here we go. Do write in, readers. For the time being, though, we're going to leave Crisis Corner and we're going to go on to Correspondence Corner.
So we're in Correspondence Corner, and would you believe we have...
No, surely not.
We have a message from Mr. Dan Hanvey.
Oh,
after his foray into Denmark. But without further ado, let's jump right in and see how he's doing. We've been waiting desperately for an update, and Dan has graced us with one. So here we go. The subject line is Danmark, Danmark, is Danish for Denmark. Full stop. I fit in here. He goes on to say, Greetings both. It's been a while since my last missive, so I thought I'd pen some thoughts down. Firstly, I agree with Dan. Yes, Simon, you need to watch The Man in the High Castle. I started watching a few months ago, and now I'm hooked. Thanks for letting me know about season 3, Dan. No worries. Secondly, Danish women falling at my feet, please. That's only going to happen if I strap bamboo to my shoes and whack them in the shins as I walk along. There, they are, I grant you, quite attractive and also very good at English. Finally, since my moving out here has been a step out of my comfort zone, here's another thing that is unusual for me. It's probably been about 10 years since I last tried to write any fiction, but I thought I'd give it a crack.
Oh my God. No.
Please find attached chapter 1 of A Rather Strange Adventure. I'm afraid it's mostly set up. More will happen in future chapters. It's my first bit of fiction for a long time, so sorry if it's a bit dodgy. I was also trying to style it a little after a much-loved author. See if you can work out how it was by the chapter ends. Still mostly me, Dan-ish. And he's attached chapter 1 of A Rather Strange Adventure, which is very exciting. I'll be moving that into the fanfiction folder as we speak. I'm so glad that it's going well. A massive thing for Dan. As I say, he came down to Exeter not long ago, and we had a catch up before he was going to be heading off. But I'm really glad that everything's going well. And Danish listeners, we must have some listeners in.
If you're a
Denmark.
Danish listener, just pop us an email. Well, let's see if we can get a census going of all the readers in Denmark.
I'll tell you what. I'm actually going to go. I'm going to jump into some analytics right now, and I'm going to see if we do have any listeners in Denmark. Statistics, geography. Yeah, we've got listeners in Denmark.
Can you tell me anything more than that? How many?
We've got 233 downloads in Denmark.
Across all the episodes. So that's probably like, what? Hang on, how many episodes have we done? 40. So that's like 5 listeners, at least.
There you go.
Well, if you live in Copenhagen, get in touch. If you're a Danish listener, we want to hear from you. We could put you in touch with Danvi, who may hit you in the shins with some bamboo.
But if it's Danvi doing it, it's well worth it, because he's just a lovely, lovely man.
Absolutely. Now, the thing is, I asked Danvi, I had a conversation with him on Facebook to write us some fan fiction, and there was a very specific request that I made. If he's done it, I'm gonna big nut everywhere. It's good. Oh God, please, Danvi, tell me you've done what I think you've done. Anyway, we'll get to that. Moving on, we have a follow-up email from Antoinette Epsilon, who wrote in last episode, who had a question about a piñata bat. And the follow-up is Swan Piñata Massacre. Hello. Now, can you open this email for me, Dan?
I can, yeah.
Open up the email and tell me what you see.
I can see my face on a cat and your face on a dog. Both faces are incredibly pixelated.
Yeah, that's some real low-grade quality Photoshop.
It's really pretty. Oh, and we've got the pictures of the 10 Thai butts.
We have some pictures of the 10 Thai butts, as requested.
Brilliant.
I like how you've managed to somehow not get the whole coin in either picture. Both of them are just like a little bit too close and a little bit out of focus and just a little bit out of frame. It says here, the picture is that of the former king of Thailand, Rama IX, Bhumibol Adulyadej, whose name will most likely be in the next title of a Wikicast episode.
Probably.
However, Antoinette is in a bit of a katzenjammer again. This year, I want to put some effort into Halloween, which begins with carving something super scary into the pumpkins. So what should it be? Of these options, a differential equation, student debt, puberty, Simon and Dan fan fictions, or the political landscape of 2016 to 2017. They're all... I mean, differential equations.
I think you should find a way to do a little bit of everything.
I want you, Antoinette, to... I want you to do specifically the Coco Van minus the van fan fiction. Carve that into a pumpkin. Like, I don't know, if you're really good at sculpture, please do that. Because I would love nothing more than a pumpkin of a fan fiction that somebody wrote about a podcast that I do with my friend. That is just the most millennial thing imaginable to me, so I absolutely want it. But all of those are terrifying, my God.
Yeah, God. It's been a horrible time. It's going to be a scary Halloween wherever you are.
Yeah, Jesus. Spoopy AF.
But thank you, Antoinette, for us and for those images of the cat and the dog. It's a real treat. We have an email here from Ben Dent.
Ben Dent.
Those of you might recognise that name from last week because both Simon and I met Ben when he was in Exeter. He goes on to say, Dear Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a very good day unto you. I have a few items to note.
Which one? Am I Dr. Jekyll?
I suppose so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A very good day unto you. I have a few items to note. Secondly, 'twas a pleasure and a pleasant surprise to meet you two top lads when I was in Exeter. I was very pleased that you're such top lads in person. As great as you are in the great digital realm, hopefully our paths will cross again. Firstly and finally, I completely get what Simon was saying about the imposter syndrome, as I experienced the same thing while starting at Imperial this year, especially when surrounded by people with higher grades who are going through work more quickly. It's beginning to fade, but I was wondering what advice Simon has for dealing with that. Thirdly, I believe a while ago, we were owed a video of the Right Honourable Daniel Moore consuming a KFC bucket. I was wondering...
People haven't forgotten.
If this will ever materialise. Tenthly, a side note, loving the commentary tracks for patrons of your videos, Simon, as I enjoy the insight into how magic is accomplished. Also loving the possibility of more merch, as I missed out the first time. Is there going to be any more Simon merch like the To-Do Calculate t-shirt was at any point too? Proud to be a top lad supporter on wikicast.com /the Patreon, so everyone join. That's very good. So everyone joins in the fun and game.
That domain name and redirect it to patreon.com /the Wikicast, because that's funny.
On that note, many thanks to the top quality non-content on the podcast and the top quality content on YouTube, mainly Simon, but also Squishy and Sparky. May the odds be ever in your favour, and hail Hydra, yours always, Mr. Denbent Esquire.
There's a lot to unpack here. Right, okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to say it now. The KFC bucket video will happen at some point. I don't know when, but it will.
So many people have messaged me about this recently. Like, I think someone screenshotted it and was like, "Wait a minute, we never got this." So we are going to do that. Like, when I'm next
it will happen.
I will force Dan to do it.
And as far as merch goes, I've got this t-shirt I'm designing in the pipeline. It will be limited run because it's just a joke, but I want to actually make it look really legit.
You say that though, but that's what I thought about the To-Do Calculate shirt. Like, I thought that would be a joke, and then I sold like 100 of the things. Like, people...
Yeah, but I think in terms of design, you literally wrote To-Do Calculate on it. I'm trying to make mine look like something you'd buy from like a charity shop. It will be ready, but it needs a little bit more time. But I'll be sure to notify people, and there will be, as I say, it's going to be a limited run, but we'll very much do them.
Yeah, and I'm not against me doing future merch. I mean, it just has to be something that I think is actually worth doing. Like, I would quite like to get to the point where I have a strong enough visual identity that I can do a shirt that's an actual merch shirt rather than just a joke. Maybe that will happen soon. I don't know, but I quite like the idea of it because merch is quite lucrative, to be honest. So, you know, like, I just don't want to do it with a product that I think is bad. I want to make a product that I'm actually proud of and I would wear. So give me enough time to do that, basically. But also, the thing he says in that same point, for those of you who might not know, on my Patreon, which is patreon.com /SimonOxFizz, I've started doing commentary tracks on my science videos, which explain how I do the special effects and how I write it. And people seem to be enjoying them. They're Patreon exclusives. So if you want to hear them, then if you donate more than $3 a month, then you get access to that and a bunch of other exclusive content. Just in case people weren't aware. Sorry, as you were, Dan.
Well, there was some advice for dealing with imposter syndrome.
Sorry. Lemon. No, I actually watched a video today about imposter syndrome, which was something I didn't know. Apparently Einstein suffered from imposter syndrome, which was immensely comforting to know that. Like, it was Einstein and Maya Angelou, I think it was. Both suffered terribly from imposter syndrome. So it doesn't, it's not like it's going to go away by just you getting better at something, because you're never going to be as good at something as Einstein was at physics. You kind of have to confront it earlier than that, which was a fallacy that I kind of believed. I thought I just figured that eventually I'll get good enough and it just won't be a problem. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I never got over it. I literally was always paralyzed by imposter syndrome and felt like I never really belonged in academia. So I'm literally the worst person you could possibly ask. About this. I really wish I could give you some useful advice, but I got nothing, man.
We've got a lot of listeners who are at uni or college or something. So maybe this could also be not necessarily a crisis, But if anyone's got any advice for going to uni and being surrounded by people with high grades who are getting through work faster and
Oh yeah, I
email
mean,
in.
if we have readers who are going to be better at this than me. So readers, could you please write in with your advice on how to deal with imposter syndrome? Because I need it as much as Ben does, from the sounds of things.
And with that, I'm afraid I'm going to have to disappear off. I have some plans this evening. It's for those who are currently doing your A-levels. I imagine that your school is going around that time of having to get kind of UCAS things ready and choices and personal statements and things. My two younger brothers are in that stage just now, and I said that I'd give them a ring and kind of go through some planning and stuff to help them out. So slightly shorter one this week.
It's a Dan episode.
Rest assured,
it's not a Simon episode this week. It's a Dan episode.
Rest assured, we'll be back next week. We'll be looking forward with bated breath to your thoughts on the crisis, and any recommendations for Ben Dent, Esquire.
Ben Dent.
But yes, it's going to be a shorter one this week because I've got to nip off and call my fam.
Oh, he's a good boy. Everyone should call their family. If you are lucky enough to still have a family, give them a call at least once a week because they made you. You owe it to them. They'll care about you.
Yeah.
But yes,
absolutely.
Unfortunately, that does result in a slightly shorter episode. But oh wait, no, you kick off on the script. I get this wrong every single week.
So Simon, what have we learned today?
Well, Daniel, we have learned about the 2005 Beijing Guoan football club season, which was the club's second consecutive season in the Chinese Super League and contained such mighty players as Wang Dong. I forgot about it. It still makes me laugh. His name is Dick, and not the little tiny deer. We talked about that for a bit. Then we talked about football and how your mum is a Liverpool fan. My mum's a Portsmouth fan.
We had Choral Corner, my recommendation, that Sanders piece, which you will be able to find in the show notes. We had a chat about...
We had a long old chat about YouTube, and I ranted
we did.
For quite a while. I'm going to look back at the waveform.
I say we had a chat.
Yeah, sorry. I'm going to look back at the waveform and be like, Mother of God, Dan really didn't talk. I didn't let him talk.
I'm looking through mine. I can see where you went on the rant.
Did you say
rant? Big old blank there.
I went on the rant.
Yeah, rant.
Putting on the rant. We talked about that, and then we had a Crisis Corner, and then a curtailed correspondence. We do have now multiple fan fictions. We may have to have a fan fiction corner next week. We don't even read out correspondence; we just do the fan fictions.
We've got so many in the catalogue. We need to go through.
But people, please do write in with your response to Crisis Corner. I'd really love it if that format took off for Crisis Corner, where we use our communal powers as a community to help solve one of our own members' crises. Do write in with that, and also anything that you think merits correspondence on the show and responding to Ben Dent. But I believe I've just taken some of your lines, Dan. Sorry.
Bollocks. Here we go. There you go. We're back. That's all for this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service and choice. You can like us on Facebook, and if you'd like to see our faces, check out our YouTube channel, Spongy and Electric.
Crisis replies, crisis alerts, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole, and we'll see you next time.
Right. Oh, interesting fact for you, by the way, between sections. Richmond, California is named after Richmond, Virginia, which is named after Richmond, London, which is named after Richmond, North Yorkshire, which is named after Richemont, Normandy.
Wow, that is quite cool. There's a Richmond in Australia too.
You could say it's a rich history.
I've got a joke for you.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? You got to think about this.
Okay.
It's an important question. Okay.
Right.
How long
is a
Chinese name?
I knew it.
Yeah. I love it.
That is a good one. I bet he played for Guoan United.